Hi everyone, bit of a new kind of video series I'm going to be doing here on a few projects I do, because a lot of people through the work channel are interested in other things I do, so figured I'd go for it and do some videos. A lot of it obviously is going to be V8 related, because it's a big passion I've got, and yeah, the twin turbo Range Rover is now pretty much done. I've got some other jobs to do on the car, which again, although they're kind of relative to work, they're not V8 related necessarily, building rear bumpers and data loggers and things like that. So I thought doing videos along these lines might be a little bit better. So I'm actually going to be heading to Sandpod to do a quarter-mile drag race in the Range Rover shortly. The Run What You Brung start in October, so that's next weekend, will be the 1st of October, and I'm hoping to either make it down on that one or the following Saturday. It's not going to be competitive, let's face it. It's a 2.2, 2.3 ton vehicle by the time I've got the weight of the gas conversion on there and the winch bumper, etc. So obviously big power losses through the four-wheel drive train system. Sounds like I'm making lots of excuses already for a quarter-mile time. Yeah, I am. But pre that, I need to make sure that the vehicle is clean on the underside, because obviously I've done a lot of off-roading in it, and Santapod definitely won't thank me for dry dirt dropping down the track as I head down there. So I need to prep the underside. The engine's due an oil change as well, so now back to complete that and check all the other fluids underneath, make sure it's in good stead, ready for the Run What You Brung day. This V8 engine behind me here is for my next kind of project. Well, I've got kind of 4 projects in total, the Range Rover being one of them with the additional jobs. So I'm just going to do some prep work on the Range Rover, and then I'll show you what this 3.5 litre Rover V8 is going to be for. Nice thing about 4x4s, no ramp needed for an oil change. The hope, of course, is that the pot is under the sump plug. We should be alright though. The threads are rather long on a Thor sump. Here we go. We've got rag at the ready. Let's just pre-fill the filter. Can't top it all the way up, of course, because the oil filter goes on at a slight angle. That's probably enough there then. Probably squeeze a bit more in. There's a lot of air in these, it takes a long while to come out, but like I say, it's going to go on at an angle. So I'll just smear some oil around here, head back over to the car and screw this on. I've not got a funnel of a decent sized mouth on it, so I'm going to go for the long pour, which here's the just in case bit, but we should be okay. And we'll put all this in and fire up, get oil around the engine and leave it half an hour sitting before we then top up to the dipstick level. I've also remembered to put the sump plug in, which is always handy. So that's about 4.5 litres in there, half litre in the oil filter. That's the full 5 litre tub of that, which is more than enough to be registering on the dipstick and up to the minimum mark, I'm sure, but we'll just double check that, fire it up, get oil around the engine, and then shut it down and let it sit for about half an hour before I top up to the maximum mark. Okay, let's get it fired up. I don't actually have the oil pressure light wired up at the moment. I need to order a different sensor for the oil pressure gauge, but it's got the switch on it as well. So we'll get it fired up, and it should register oil pressure quite quickly. There we go, she's on the climb. So while we're in here, just circulating oil. I've got a lot of different dials and gauges and bits and bobs in here at the moment. It's a bit, well, I say a bit, it's very Heath Robinson. A lot of these were put in pre the twin turbo conversion, so I've got coolant temperature and oil temperature of the engine. I did have oil temperature of the gearbox. I think the sensor's fallen off the oil cooler pipe where I had that on. Boost controller, AFR gauge, and then up here obviously we've got oil pressure and a vac gauge / pressure gauge. So I'm actually working on a little unit at the moment. I do a bit of programming in Arduino to take a lot of this data and just put it into a simple touch screen on here, because this is, you know, quite Heath Robinson and was done on a very quick pass, very cheap gauges here for the temperature sensors, and I'd like to make that a lot neater. Ideally I'd actually like to integrate the AFRs into it and the vacuum / boost, so I can get rid of these, put oil pressure in as well, and then still run the oil pressure light as well. So I'd rather have a quick indication of, you know, if oil pressure suddenly was to drop off, which I'm not expecting to. So here's the little device I'm working on for that. And here is the little computer I'm working on. I still need to either build, buy or fabricate some kind of case for it, or integrate it into the dashboard somehow. Just been playing around with the coding here, so planning to have sort of min and max values data logged of all time, saved to an SD card, or just of this run. Gearbox temperature, I was thinking about putting a line pressure sensor on there as well. I'm not sure if I really need to go that far, but and then on engine, planning on also doing engine RPM, boost or vacuum, and also AFR on here as well, so I can effectively get rid of all those gauges in the that are dotted around my car at the moment, and have all the data on here and be able to log it as well. So fingers crossed I get time to, or make the time to finish this off as well. Okay, so I've actually got 4.1 ratio diffs in both the front and rear of this. Obviously you have to run the same in the front and rear axles, but I did that when I had larger tyres on this pre-turbo conversion as well. Dropped the diff ratios down to 4.1s rather than 354s, just to help with the gearing and give me my fuel economy back, which it certainly did. And yeah, that one's lovely and clean as well. All good there then. There are 4 pins in the rear and the front of this. Originally obviously it was only a 4-pin diff in the rear, but when I broke the 2-pin in the front, I obviously upgraded. It was just prior to converting to the different ratios as well. And I haven't changed back yet. Now I'm on the tyres I'm on are slightly bigger than standard, but only just. Obviously I've got ample torque now with the turbo conversion, and I was going to change back, but I really like how it drives, and obviously quarter mile time is going to be better, just for a giggle, on this ratio diff, so for now I'm going to stick with them. One thing I am really happy about is that I've come under here to do this, and it's definitely the right decision to make sure I come under and clean this, because this dirt, when I launch off the start line, it's just going to flake down, so I need to get under here and give this a really good clean before I get to Santa Pod. There we go then, that's all the levels checked out on that. It was too tricky to try and film the transfer box and the auto box underneath, but topped the engine off with oil, cycled the auto box through the gears, checked level on that, everything's great. So the V8 engine that I had on the bench earlier, which we'll switch back to in a second, is destined for the Series 2. The MG is not V8 at the moment. I've got plans for that. But realistically, I've got a few more bits to collect, etc. for it. I'm in the middle of collecting a lot of bits for it, what I would like to do with it. So I will be V8 converting it, hopefully. But I've got a few other things to do first and some more bits to collect and a lot of research to do for that. So Series 2, 1959. It's currently 4-cylinder petrol. It's not on its original engine. It's not a matching number vehicle car. I've done a bit to this since I've owned it, which is a couple of years now. New rag top, put a hoop bar in for some seat belts, and a lot of welding to the chassis to strengthen it and repair holes and things like that. Been through the gearbox myself last winter, so things are moving in the right direction. Originally I wasn't going to V8 convert it, however, I am now. Okay, so just said a second ago, originally I wasn't going to V8 convert the Series 2, which is sitting outside, and I quite liked it as the fact it was a 2 1/4. I didn't need everything in my life, every vehicle, to be V8 powered. However, I was helping a friend of his Land Rover a few months back, and he was removing this 3.5 engine, and he's going down the diesel route, so along with rebuilding the vehicle. And he offered me this engine, so I figured it'd be rude not to, seeing as he gave it to me, along with the adapter plate that's going to be key to actually keeping the series gearbox. So obviously this needs a big clean down, and I need to inspect the bores, etc., to see whether we rebore, whether we just hone and re-ring the pistons. I'm not looking for an absolute perfect, pristine, absolutely done to the nth degree like we do at work engine. This is not going to cover a lot of miles for me, and I don't particularly want to pile a load of finances into this engine when I've got the MG build that I'm now planning. Yeah, so I feel I can do a reasonable level rebuild at home on this engine, doing it the right way, but you know, it doesn't matter to me if the compressions aren't balanced across all 8 cylinders perfectly, and you know, if things are what they are, that's the route I'm happy to go down with this particular engine for my vehicle. So going to do a few tests first on the Series Land Rover. I'm going to do an MPG test on it at present. The 2 1/4 engine needs work, so I've got to build an engine for it, and this is the route I'm going to go. But I'm still on the, I think they're 4.7 ratio diffs as standard. I'm going to put in some 3.54s, but I'm doing an MPG test first, then switch to the 3.54 diffs, do another MPG test, and then after that I'm going to put the V8 engine in and then do another MPG test, because I'm quite certain that with the V8 engine in there, the MPG is going to be far better than the 2 1/4 petrol, especially as the 2 1/4 petrol is worn. What was quite interesting with this engine when I stripped it down, my friend said that he'd always struggled to get it to run nicely on twin SU carburetors. You know, a lot of people don't balance them, set them up properly. However, on stripping the engine down, I found out that may well have been the case, but equally the cylinder heads had something quite unique going on with them, which I've not seen before. So I'll just grab them and we'll have a look. Just quickly before we talk about this head, I've just reviewed some of the video I've done and I've realised the quality is awful. So it's camera phone for the win for now, which I've now switched to. So the very last section of this video will be better quality, hopefully. So yeah, I'm going to shine the torch down the head bolt hole, and as you can already see, you shouldn't be able to see light down there, but sure enough, that's where the head bolt goes through. These are the 2 centre ports on the head intake ports. So that won't have done any favours at all to the way the engine will have run. If I shine the torch this side,
I think it may have been a bit of a casting defect. You can kind of see a ridge there, which also follows through on this side. So I'm wondering if direct from Rover, they had a bit of a casting defect, and then the centre section of alley in the middle there just sort of gave way around the head bolt over time. But obviously it's no good to us now. So I have another pair of heads to go on there, which should obviously get a little bit of attention. If you've liked this video, obviously the next one going up will be the P38 at Santa Pod, hopefully, and then after that the V8 engine work for the series, the MPG tests on the series and that sort of thing. So if you think it's going to interest you, hit subscribe please. I believe people normally say smash the like button, so do whatever that means, and catch you next time. Cheers guys. Dirt and more dirt. Time to do the other side, then get the pressure washer out. Oh, there we go. Got rid of as much mud and crud as I possibly can on the underside here. So, fingers crossed, in a week or 2 weeks' time when I get down to Santa Pod, we won't leave any soil deposits when we go off the start line or further down the quarter mile.